few weeks ago, I wanted to see a sunrise. I keep wanting to say sunset, but that's not true. I wanted to see a sunrise. And that is despite the fact that, it was the middle of July, which is a bit of a silly time to decide to do this. As well as the fact that you can see my garden is actually pretty walled in, like the hedges are pretty high, so that's not really a good way to see a sunrise at all. But it wasn't really about the sunrise either. It was just about getting up at 5:30 a.m., sitting down in the middle of my garden on a blanket, and kind of sitting there for, I think it was 15 minutes, 20 minutes, doing nothing and just having some tea and sitting there in the cold, listening to the birds. And I think the sunrise part of it was more me wanting to have a goal than anything else. Because it's been a few weeks now, but at the time of recording this, I was feeling pretty sad for like a week or so. And I get this often in the beginning of summer where I don't have to do schoolwork anymore, and I kind of go from a very high intensity time of exams to not having to do anything in the summer, and that kind of makes me lose my sense of purpose, I guess, and so abruptly that it makes me feel a little depressed very often, and it's not great. But I also find it very difficult to find things to do about it. Like in this year specifically, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna plan a lot of things for me to do. In that way, I'll still have something to do, and the crash won't be that abrupt. But even then, I felt that I was starting to kind of slip into it, and I felt that even though I had a lot of things that I wanted to do and things that would normally bring me happiness, and I would play around with that a little bit, like I would allow myself to see a lot of people, allow myself to be alone for a bit, allow myself to have a lot of things planned, allow myself to relax a little bit, and none of that really worked to stave off the sadness as much as I would have hoped, which is kind of sad in its own right. Like, it's frustrating because it makes me feel like there's nothing I can do about it, and it's very annoying when you're making so many efforts to stave off that sadness or depression, and you can feel that it doesn't work, even though I have been having this for like probably like five years or so, a bit more even. And you would think that by now I would kind of understand how I tick. Like, in that way of like organizing things to do, you would think that would, now I would know it and it would work. And the annoying thing is that always for a bit it does, and that makes me feel good. And I'm like, yes, I've got this. I know what I'm doing. But then it doesn't work, and it's incredibly annoying. And I mean, it always passes. It's a few weeks later, and I'm doing fine. It was actually this day that I filmed this ad where everything started like looking up a little bit. I did this silent, mostly silent. I tried to be silent, sitting for like 15 or so minutes, just, I don't know, like appreciating my surroundings at 5:30 in the morning. And then I went rollerblading for the first time in years, and I was so bad at it. It was incredibly funny. And then I took a shower, and then I baked bread, and then I went to see some friends. And it was a very good day. And since then I've been doing much better. But that still means that I don't know. I don't know if that was just the exact intensity of things I was supposed to do for it to pass, or if my sadness was going to pass either way at this point, if it was always going to be a week. And I don't know which one is better. Because, I don't know, in a sense that it's always going to pass is supposed to be more comforting, because that means that it's always going to be temporary, and from experience it's always going to be about a week of feeling bad before things start looking up, and that should be nice, I guess. And it should be easier than finding the right intensity, because that would theoretically be able to take a lot longer. Like, we don't know that I find the right intensity of things to do within a week, but I still feel like I prefer that idea, if only because it makes me feel like I have some form of control over it. Like, I can, I don't know, do something right, like other things that I am doing are helping in some way, if only to get me closer to the right intensity of things I need to do by process of elimination. And I don't know if that makes sense. It probably doesn't. But I feel like if I would believe that yeah, I don't know. I do feel like my efforts are helping somewhat, because I feel like if I would just wallow in it and not attempt anything at all, then it would probably take longer. I don't know why I'm standing up at this point. I think it's to look at the pigeons in the tree that are like right behind the camera. Um, anyway, I don't know. I appreciate that idea. I think I just want my illusion of free will and my illusion of control on the world. It's also why I really dislike the idea of determinism, like the idea that everything is set to happen as it happens, whether for a theological reason or a biological reason. I choose with my free will to believe that we do in fact have free will, even though there's a lot of scientific evidence against it. Like, there's a bunch of evidence that shows that you unconsciously make a decision before you consciously make a decision. That practically means that you're not with your consciousness making any decisions. It's all beforehand decided in your brain chemistry, which you could then expand upon to mean that all of our decisions that we are going to make are decided by our brain chemistry, and therefore biologically decided, not necessarily when we were born, but through a combination of nature, of how you are born, as well as your life circumstances that decide the composition of your brain chemistry. Which means that your consciousness really doesn't come into play, and, well, in that way, and that free will does not exist, which is a very valid theory, and there's more evidence for it than there is for us actually having free will. However, I don't like that theory because I like the idea of having a choice, and I don't even really know why that is. I think I'm just afraid of being trapped. I guess I think that's one of my worst fears. Like, when I think about my physical fears, I don't have a lot of physical fears. Most of my fears are like mental, like, I don't know. I'm not afraid of spiders, I'm not afraid of heights, those kind of things. But the few physical fears that I do have, other than like a bear attacking me, that's not something I'm consciously afraid of. But one of the few fears that I do have is mazes, and another one less strongly than mazes, but also don't like closed spaces. Like, we go cave diving or doing speleo. I don't know if that's the word in English, but where you go into a cave to climb. Like, that freaks me out, and I get scared at that. And I think that the reason I'm scared of those two things and not so many other things is also because I am just scared of being trapped, and perhaps scared of being powerless, in the same way that I am afraid of not being able to make choices. I find it interesting that this doesn't really work with me being an incredibly indecisive piece of shit. I'm extremely bad at making choices, even if it is apparently something that I do desperately want to be able to do. But maybe those two things even link, because the moment you make a choice, of course, the other choices fall away, and maybe I just like to have my options open. I don't really know. That could be a reason for it, I guess. But then again, the way that I tend to deal with that is by procrastinating my choice until there's less of them. Though I guess it has maybe something to do with the decision exhaustion that our generation, my generation, deals with so much. Like there's so many choices to make and so many opportunities we have on the internet, and that also, frankly, quite terrifying. I know that that's an incredible position of privilege to have as many opportunities as I do, but also it is incredibly scary. So I don't know, maybe it's actually quite similar to my needing to do the right thing or the right intensity of things to stop being sad in summer. Like maybe I need the right amount of choices for me to function properly. Okay, this is the part of the video where there was a cat in the bird cage that's behind there, I think. Maybe that's the part of the video. No, I'm going to the... Wait, is this video mirrored? What way am I going? Yeah, this is the part where there was a cat in the bird cage, or like besides the bird cage, but definitely I could hear like the birds thunking like into the side of the cage. So I went to check it out and to yell at the cat to leave. And I tried to check if the cat was still in the cage where I thought to see it. It may have been like behind it, and I saw it that way, because I have no idea how it would be able to get in and then also out. But I checked and all the birds are still alive, which is good. I'm apparently staying away for quite a long time. I don't really know how long it took me. Oh, there I am. It's been a few weeks since I filmed this video. Yeah. What was I talking about? Right. Maybe there's just a right balance of decisions I need to be able to make, a right balance of options before I can, I don't know, properly function, which is maybe quite difficult because I don't know how big the margin of error is on that experience. But I think that is something that I might be figuring out maybe. Because it is possible to set restrictions for yourself, of course, in your decision making to a certain extent, like to limit your search if you're looking for something. Or, I don't know, there must be ways in which you can figure out how many options you can have available for yourself. I don't know. It's a bit difficult, but that's life. I think that's practically all I had to ramble about today. This is my first voiceover video, and I didn't make a script. So this really has just been me rambling for about 14 minutes now. But I thought it was quite fun. I should maybe do more voiceovers like this. And maybe I should do more rambles like this. I don't know if that is true. But I thought this was quite a fun experience. So that's gonna be the end of this video, I guess. I am working on a few more, so I will see you again at some point. Goodbye.